Hi guys, welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Whitney Bissell, and this is our daily show bringing you all the latest movie news with insight into what it all means. Joining me as always is AMC Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show here in our digs at the Stream.TV studios in Hollywood, California. And listen, before we move on with things, I usually announce this at the end, but I want to get it out at the beginning just in case you guys miss it. This Friday, November the 1st, at the LA Convention Center, for those of you who are in the LA area, we are doing an AMC Movie Talk panel talking comic book movies at Stan Lee's annual Kamikaze event. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be there. Dennis, Schnepp, Whitney, Chrissa Lee, Aaron, Amy Rose. We're all going to be there. And we have a very special moderator who's coming down to join us for it. And the moderator of our panel is going to be none other than Sif herself from Thor, Ms. Jamie Alexander. We are super excited that she's going to be joining us for that day, so make sure you come on down. Once again, that's on Friday, that's this Friday, November the 1st at 3:30 p.m. We'll be on the main stage at the LA Convention Center, so we hope to see you there. But before we move on, I also want to share this one other thing. Every day I get people tweeting me and Facebooking me some cool pictures or things that they've put together, and it's really fun to get. But yesterday I got like the creme de la creme of the things I've ever got. Now, everybody knows who watches the show that I'm actually a big fan of Sons of Anarchy. I'm a huge fan of the show. So this gentleman, one of my Facebook friends, who's one of the viewers of the show, named Merrick, I believe that's pronounced his name, sent me this picture that he put together. Take a look at this. Look at the hat. Look at the hoodie. Look at my mic stand. The popcorn in the hand. The Sons of AMC. I just love this. So like all night last night, he sent me this picture, and then all night I'm just hopping on Cafe Press and a whole other places getting ready to get some merchandise made. I'm going to get a jacket made. I'm going to get coffee mugs made. I'm really excited about it. So thank you so much for sending that in, and I cannot wait to get some stuff on it.
And also joining us today is AMC Movie News Production Manager, Mr. Dennis Sin.
Yeah, that design looks really professional looking.
Yeah, isn't it great?
But on a side note, John, how are you dealing with the handshake gate?
It has been all day yesterday. It was just all emails. How can you dare snub Robert De Niro? I think it's going to take me a while to get over this one.
And lastly, director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, John Schnepp.
Yeah, I just saw the footage that I saw on Dennis's Surface Pro 2.
Plug.
And I can't believe that Campea walked away. What was on his mind? He wanted a coffee, had to use the bathroom. How could you do that to Robert De Niro? But yeah, I can't wait to, you know what? We might even make a couple of special edition t-shirts for Kamikaze and throw them out. Not saying it's happening, but it might happen.
It might happen. All right, what do we got up?
Well, the next installment of the X-Men franchise, X-Men Days of the Future Past, opens in AMC theaters everywhere on May 23rd. And this morning, the very first official trailer for the film hit the web, featuring the main cast from both the contemporary X-Men films and X-Men's First Class. So, John, what do you think of the X-Men Days of the Future trailer?
I love it. I absolutely. Now I don't know if it's exactly the same as the stuff they showed at Comic-Con. I think it was a little bit different than what they showed at Comic-Con, minorly, but I absolutely love this trailer. I can't imagine them making a trailer for this film that would get me more excited than this one did. The tone is perfect. The music selection for it is beautiful. The scenes they chose to put in there told a narrative that gave me an idea about where this film is going. It was darker in tone, but of course, not all superhero movies need to be dark. Everybody thought because Batman was great no, not at all. But considering the subject matter of Days of Future Past, yeah, it's going to be darker. It's going to be more somber, and you felt that heaviness in it as well. Seeing all these guys, seeing, the two Xaviers face to face, hearing all the narrative going on, seeing Wolverine older and younger, that whole line about patience isn't my strong suit. I honestly, I don't think there has ever been a better X-Men series trailer than this trailer. I'll go one step further. I think there's a good debate to be had that this might be the best comic book movie trailer we've ever seen. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying I think there's a debate to be had there. I was floored by it. I loved it. I cannot wait for this. Thank God Bryan Singer is back on the X-Men train. This is where he has shined the most, aside from Usual Suspects, of course, but he has shined the most when he's been on the X-Men franchise. I cannot wait for this film. Dennis, you saw the trailer this morning. What did you think?
Oh, I thought it was really good. And speaking of the trailer music, it's actually the music from the soundtrack for Sunshine, which they use a lot in movie trailers, if you notice. But I'm a sucker for that song. I love that score. So when it's playing over something that fits that theme, I thought it was great. And I just love the fact that we got to see the young Magneto, the old Magneto, the young Professor X, the old Professor X, and we finally got a short little glimpse of Peter Dinklage as Trask.
In the Senate and stuff like that. But it also gave us our first glimpses of, I believe that's Warpath they've got in there. We saw Bishop in there. Cyclops is back in there. I mean, it showed us so much. Anyway, Schnepp, you saw it this morning. What did you think?
I was blown away. I didn't even realize it was like Christmas morning. I was like, oh, what? That's on? Watched it like 5 times. Well, it's an incredible trailer, and I agree. It's like, I'm happy that Bryan Singer is back doing the movie series that he made famous, and that made him famous above beyond Usual Suspects. But he really gets the tone and the angst and what's happening with being a mutant, and he gets that storyline. So, I mean, every shot looked incredibly well put together. I can't wait to see the film. I mean, the trailer, I agree, it's probably in the top 10 trailers. I mean, it can't get, 2014 can't get here soon enough.
May, it's getting closer and closer and closer. May. All right, what's next?
All right, well, a feature film version of the popular TV series Entourage has been in the works since it went off the air in 2011. According to show creator Doug Ellen, everything is now in place and the movie is a go. No word yet on when production will begin, but reports suggest that all the primary cast have signed on and worked out their individual contract deals. So, Dennis, are you looking forward to this Entourage movie?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really do wish that it had come out this year or maybe early next year, because I looked at it, the final episode aired in 2011, so it's not that far, but it is losing its kind of like buzz, that people were loving the show and now it's a little far removed. And also, Entourage is, it's always been described as the male Sex and the City.
Right.
And I think it's a proper description for it. However, does not have the same beloved status that women have for Sex and the City. Like, women love Sex and the City, like they're living it.
Like a fat kid loves cake.
Where guys, they really like Entourage. They think it's fun, but I think after the show was over, people didn't really talk about it anymore.
Schnepp?
I'm gonna have to agree with Dennis. I mean, I didn't even watch the last season. So, I mean, I loved that show for the first like 3 or 4 seasons. I could not watch it. And then life got in the way and I just forgot it was on. And I'm like, I'm going to catch up. That's my whole thing. Eventually I'll see all the rest of them. So now maybe I'll catch up before the movie comes out. He's Aquaman. Maybe he's going to be an Aquaman too, But, I'll eventually see it, but I'm not that jazzed about it, so.
I gotta admit, I am pretty excited about it. Look, and I'm with you. I really enjoyed the show up until it got to that season where Vince was dating the porn star and had that really crippling cocaine habit.
That was the worst season.
That was because it felt like every single episode that season was the same. It's like, oh, Vince has a cocaine problem. Next episode, oh, Vince has a cocaine problem. But and for me, it was. The show was about lifestyle porn. People watched it because they wanted to vicariously live that Hollywood life that we all get to living in it. Because, that's exactly how we live right there. You know what's other crazy? Look at this picture that's up here. Jeremy, how do you pronounce it? Is it Ferrer? Ferrer?
Right.
Looking at him then, and I just interviewed him last week in Vegas for Last Vegas. The dude's now like 150 pounds. I mean, it's like night and day. You almost don't even recognize the guy now. But I'm looking forward to going back and revisiting the guys, because one thing Ellen said when they were developing the film was, we want to get back to just having the guys having fun. And maybe that doesn't sound so great narrative-wise, but it does sound like it might be a good time to watch. So I'm hoping they're able to recapture that magic. All right, folks, listen, we've reached that part of the show called Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Whitney has a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and then Schnepp, Dennis, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Whitney, what do we got?
All right, well, a remake of the 1986 classic The Highlander has been in works for some time. At one point, 28 weeks later, director Juan Carlos Fresnadillo was attached to direct, and actor Ryan Reynolds was set to play the lead role until both backed out nearly a year ago. However, it seems Summit is still intent on bringing the Highlander back to the big screen, having just hired a new director, Cedric Nicholas Troyan, to helm the project. Troyan says he wants to give the film a cross-genre feel that only the Highlander can do. Snap, buy or sell a Highlander reboot being back on track?
There can be only one! I buy it. You know, come on, it's the Highlander. That's all I gotta say.
Dennis.
I skeptically buy it. I love the Highlander. I think it's a great franchise. I think, well, maybe not so much the franchise, but the concept of it.
You don't like the quickening?
But the reason why I'm skeptical is the director. He hasn't really directed much. He's actually a visual effects supervisor.
Yes, and has been a second unit director.
Yeah.
He has.
So I'm not sure if he's the right fit for this movie.
I'm going to buy this. Look, Highlander's a really interesting animal to me because the original Highlander is in my top 10, maybe even my top 5 all-time favorite films. I can watch that film 1,000 times in a year and never get tired of it.
Queen soundtrack?
Queen soundtrack, the Kurgan,
Yeah.
like, are you kidding me?
Clancy Brown?
Ramirez at his best. Then the sequel is easily in the top 10 worst major Hollywood films ever made in history. It's just that bad.
What was the planet called? Forget everything from the first movie. We're from the planet Frigate or something. Yeah, so
It
totally.
was so bad, and then Highlander 3 just kind of pretended Highlander 2 didn't exist, but anyway. I love this idea because the concept is so great. It is so fun. I was actually looking forward to Ryan Reynolds trying it out. I didn't see it as a great fit, but still, I think Ryan Reynolds is actually a really good actor, so I was looking forward to seeing what he might have done with it. Still, I'm totally cool that they're going to move in a different direction. One of the things I heard Troyan say about this, though, that I really did appreciate was that he was talking about the genres. He said, you know, with Highlander, you can do everything because you can time skip. So you can have Highlander being this great sci-fi epic with these immortals, but you can also have segments of a Western. You can make it like a thriller. You can have great action. You can do all of these things. Like with a property like the Highlander, the playground is completely open. Just don't completely botch it, and we should be okay. But yeah, overall for me, it's a buy.
One thing I was going to say is, you know, a lot of directors come from special effects like James Cameron. So I would I don't know what this guy's work is going to be like, but I'm always, when I hear that, I'm like, hey, I'll give it a shot. It gives me a little extra, you know, come on, do it, an underdog, you know.
All right, what's next?
Writer, producer, director David Goyer, who has written such films as the Dark Knight trilogy, Man of Steel, Blade, the upcoming Batman vs. Superman, and even the video game Call of Duty Black Ops, has just signed a three-year first look deal with Warner Brothers, which reportedly includes giving Goyer opportunities to direct again as well. John, buy or sell Warner Brothers giving Goyer a 3-year deal?
Yeah, I buy. It's actually hard to imagine that he wasn't already working under a deal like this, but he hasn't been. He's just kind of been going, you know, project to project, and Warner Brothers has just kind of been his main employer for like 10 years. But this is a no-brainer. Goyer has proven himself to create some really cool stuff. When you got guys like Christopher Nolan who continuously want to go back and work with the guy, that says something. Now, has he done great as a director so far? No. Not yet, not so far, but obviously the guy knows film, so I think it's a pretty cool deal. Getting the first look at anything he creates in the next few years, while opening up the door to letting him kind of get his foot in for directing a little bit again, I think this is a win-win all around, so for me it's a buy. What do you think, Schnapp?
Yeah, I would buy it too. I think aside from the picture of Goyer talking to his friend Scrimble, the hand puppet, I buy it because he's a very talented writer. He knows what he's writing about. He does the research. He's got a good sense of humor. You know, I mean, I might not have been a big fan of his horror film that he made, but I liked Blade 3. I know I'm in the minority, but I thought it was a fun film. It was well directed, you know. So that's a buy for me. I'm glad he's on the board.
Dennis?
Yeah, I buy it as well. I mean, even despite some of the maybe criticisms he might get for some of the work he's done, I mean, the projects he does, they make money. I mean, that's it. They make money, and studios are looking for money. So, yeah, I am surprised that he isn't under that deal. As far as him directing, you know, I think it's a little tougher for a writer to go to a director versus a DP like Wally Pfister.
Right.
Chris Nolan's a DP. I think it's a little easier transition, but I hope he does well.
All right, what's next?
It's been announced that Prometheus star Noomi Rapace has just been signed on to star in the upcoming sci-fi drama What Happened to Monday, written by Matt Botkin. The film follows identical identical septuplet sisters who struggle to stay hidden in an overpopulated world where a one-child policy dictates that siblings are against the law. Dennis, buy or sell the sounds of What Happened to Monday?
I'm going to sell it. At first, when I was reading it, I thought, Noomi Rapace is in a comedy? Like, what? Why do they need 7 of her? I mean, I think the I think the storyline, if they want to go with the sci-fi route, okay, that's interesting. Why 7? Like, 3 or 4, that's good enough. So yeah, I'm gonna sell it.
Step. Why 7?
I'm gonna buy it. I buy it, but I think they should change the title to Why 7. A little comedy in there, but no, I'm gonna buy it. I think I'm always interested in seeing a new take on a new science fiction movie. I love science fiction. I love the genre, and anything that's new and not a remake of something I've already seen, I'm 100% for. I hope they keep the name. It's a weird title. What Happened on Monday? It's like makes you think, which is to me like a great thing about science fiction in general. It's like, so hopefully it's a good film. I mean, I buy it.
So I'm going to buy this too. I think it's a really cool sounding concept. And obviously, What Happened on Monday? Obviously, the kids' names are going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yep.
So it's going to be What Happened on Monday? Monday goes missing. This is a really cool idea. I really like Rapace as an actress. I don't think we've got a chance in English-speaking North American films to really see what she can do yet. I don't think Prometheus offered her the opportunity to really show her range yet. Obviously, her Sherlock Holmes film didn't really do that either. But I think she's going to impress us. I think this sounds like a great vehicle for her. So, and it's very original sounding. So for me, it's a buy.
Right, it's being reported that actor Emile Hirsch has landed the coveted role in the upcoming untitled biopic of actor-comedian JOHN BELUSHI. Hirsch has starred in such films as Milk, Speed Racer, and Into the Wild. The biopic is described like this. On the day he turned 30, John starred in America's #1 movie Animal House, starred in the #1 late night show Saturday Night Live, and had recorded the #1 album Briefcase Full of Blues, all from a guy who was never supposed to make it out from behind the cash register of his family's Chicago diner. John, buy or sell Emile Hirsch landing the role of JOHN BELUSHI?
I'm gonna have to sell it. I really did like Hirsch's work in Into the Wild. He was actually really quite good in that. But that's been the only thing I've seen him in where I thought he was either a good fit or actually delivered that. Now, that's not to say he's not capable of delivering a great performance. Into the Wild proves that he is capable of it. I just haven't seen him do it consistently or on a consistent enough basis. So, and when you're taking a guy like JOHN BELUSHI, you really want somebody to nail it. I was really excited about the idea of maybe Joaquin Phoenix playing it. I really was. And maybe a part of my sell here is because I wanted Phoenix to get it. And maybe now I'm just taking that out on poor Emile. Maybe not, I don't know. But for now, we're going into it with an open mind. We'll see how he does. But for now, for me, it's going to be a sell. Dennis?
Yeah, I'm going to sell it as well. I really like Emile Hirsch. I liked him in Into the Wild and The Girl Next Door. I just don't know if he's a right fit. He kind of has, I don't know, kind of like a young baby face quality to him. And I thought like Joaquin Phoenix has an edge.
Right.
that he could have brought to it. And also, like we talked about last time, we want to see Phoenix chub up, so chub up.
Schnepp?
I'm going to completely buy this. 2 words, Killer Joe. You guys got to see that movie.
Seen it.
Yeah, I have.
Emile Hirsch is an amazing character actor in that film with Matthew McConaughey. It's an incredibly dark, creepy, amazing film. He's great in it. And for that reason, I'm buying it because I could see him transforming into Belushi and doing a really good job. He doesn't have as much to chub up to do as Joaquin Phoenix. And I didn't want Joaquin Phoenix. I was like, I thought that was a weird choice. He's a much better choice. He actually physically is like the same height as Belushi. Mm-hmm. He looks a little bit like Belushi, which helps. I mean, obviously with prosthetics we can do whatever. But I think he's a really good actor, and this will give him another shot that, maybe like you guys, you're calling out some movies that, he didn't get to flex. So I'm buying it.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show called Mailbag. Here's how this works. If you've got a question or a topic you would like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, every day we take a couple questions out of the mailbag and address them on the show. Whitney's got a few messages pulled out of the mailbag. So, Whitney, what's first?
Okay, Eric writes, I have a bit of a loaded question on a subject I have not heard you discuss. I wanted to know if you think if Hollywood will ever make a gay male lead character in an action film or even, dare I say, superhero film that doesn't adhere to any of the typical stereotypes. Personally, I am tired of mainstream LGBT characters made to be that, or that they die or suffer in film almost all the time directly in association with their sexuality. Is it that Hollywood feels the need to cater to heterosexual men because they are the big spenders at the box office and there might be a homophobia attached to this? I, just as a gay man who likes the blockbuster films, would like to see an action hero from my community represented in a proper way. Your thoughts?
Eric, thanks a lot for the question, and you're right. This is a loaded question. And I told the guys beforehand, it's my mission today to tick everybody off. So here we go. I think you've touched on a couple of very insightful points when talking about when are we going to see a gay lead superhero character, which I think we've touched on once, maybe about 6 months ago, or a gay lead, big action star, action hero guy. Never before in history, we're in a period of time right now where we have more gay characters in a lot of our popular mainstream media than ever before. That new Andy Samberg show, District 99 or whatever it's called, one of the leads in that thing, the lieutenant is a gay character. That's great. One of my top 3 favorite sitcoms on TV right now, Modern Family, like 2 of the major characters and one of the major plot lines in that whole show is about gay characters. So we're living in an age now where we're starting to see that sort of thing happen. However, we're asking about why haven't we seen them yet? And I believe there are 2 things at play here. And number one, I do believe you're right that there is still, even though today is much better than it was 20 years ago, there is still an element of homophobia. There is. There just simply is. And that's unfortunate. Like I said, it's way better today than it was 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, back in the days of milk. But it still exists. So that's one hurdle that still has to be overcome. And as a society, we are moving in that direction, and that's great. But the other thing I think is a little bit less nefarious than homophobia, and I think that's simply the idea of cognitive identification. A lot of times when we're watching superhero films, like ridiculous guys like me, I watch Captain America, and there's a part of me that feels like I can be that guy. When I'm watching Iron Man, there is a ridiculously disconnected part of my brain that thinks I can be Tony Stark. There's an association with it. And this one report I read, which is really quite brilliant, is there's very few things that are strongly more embedded in us with our identity than our sexuality. And so when we see a character that is, let's say we see a character on screen who is a small, speaks broken English Caucasian gentleman. We have a hard time identifying with that. That's not us. We can't identify with him, and so we don't really get attracted to those types of characters, those types of movies, and those types of projects. And so studios go, well, we're in the business of making a product that people want to engage with and buy, so we're going to put out things that more people can identify with. So I think you're really onto something here. I think there's a part of it that the studios realize that they need to make these characters in these movies that do cater to the heterosexual guys in our society. And there's nothing wrong with that from a business point of view. It's just what we identify with, but things are changing. I also don't think, and this is where I get into a debate with a lot of my friends, I don't think that it is the responsibility or the jobs of movie studios to make society accept certain things. I think it's the movie business's job to reflect what the society is doing. There was this great quote I read. They had to do, I can't remember if it was Ford or GM, one of the big car companies. And it was back in the day when it was just post-World War II, more and more women started entering the workforce. And there was this question about, well, with more women entering the workforce, should these companies create jobs for women? And this one executive at one of the car companies said this brilliant quote. He said, "It's not really our job to create jobs for women. It is our job to make jobs available to women as more and more of them enter the workforce." I thought that was brilliant. And I think that same principle applies to the film and the television industry today. As the gay community becomes more and more accepted, and we get past a lot of these old prejudices that we used to have in our society, and we're getting better and better at that. I think we're going to see studios, television networks, things like that, start to reflect that in our society more and more. But I don't think it's their job to make it happen. Will we ever see a gay lead superhero movie? I have no doubt. Absolutely no doubt that we will. When? Really depends on the pace of change in our society. And you know what? And our pace of change is never the same. It's not like we're always going at this speed of progress. Sometimes it's really fast, sometimes it's slow. So I really have no idea, but I have no doubt that at some point we will. Dennis?
Yeah, I think it comes down to money. I mean, right now, if let's say homosexual action heroes were a big thing and everyone would go see it, Hollywood would be cranking them out left and right.
No doubt.
They're not. It's not like they're opposed to it. They just want to make money. That's their end goal. In terms of like reflection and shaping this society with characters, yeah, I think it's one of those tough gray areas where it's a cyclical thing where yeah, you can reflect, but at the same time you want to make things available. It's not maybe their responsibility, but you do have to give opportunities. I mean, I can't relate to being a gay person, but speaking as an Asian American male, you look at the progress. It's very, very slow for Asian American males. I mean, name the two guys that you probably recognize right now is John Cho, who was in Star Trek. He was he's a major character. He wasn't the lead. And then you have Steve Yeun on The Walking Dead that plays Glenn.
Right.
And that's about it. I mean, you can't really. Jackie Chan and Jet Li, those are actors that were big overseas that they brought over.
Right.
And these are two that are actually from the U.S. So I just think that eventually there will be a gay action hero or superhero, but it's going to take a while. And there are, some small glimpses of hope. One of my favorite shows, The Wire.
Right.
Omar. He's like one of the best characters on that show, and he was gay. So I don't know. I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen far down the line.
Yeah, and they made Omar of his homosexuality a large part of that storyline and the things that he had to go through because of that. So, speaking superheroes, I mean, I think you can go two ways, and it'll be happening very soon. I know that it's a question that's pertinent, but I mean, when you think about like even the XMen movie, half of everyone on that project is either homosexual or it's an unsaid thing. But what the question is asking, like, when are we going to see that as an actual character? You can go Batwoman, who's in the comic books.
Right.
She's a lesbian right now. But maybe the studios would be like, hey, that's too close. We don't want to get on the Batman tip while we're relaunching stuff and then have any kind of drama, which I don't think it would be a big drama, but it'd be a cool thing. Or you can go with The Authority, where you basically had like a surrogate Justice League characters, and two of them, Apollo and Midnighter, would basically Batman and Superman were gay and were a couple. And it never really was made up in a bad way. It was actually like, it was just a kind of a cool thing, like, all right, I'll see you later tonight, It was just like a regular couple interacting, but it was two guys. So, I mean, I think that's the kind of way that I think, especially superhero movies, would be smart to do, is don't make it a big thing. Like, don't make it as a character part that, because they're gay, they have all these issues. It's just, hey, they're gay. So that's how it is. That person's straight, that person's gay. We got to save people. We're superheroes. It's not an issue. I think that's the way to deal with it, is don't make it an issue. So,
and one of the things that this comes up again, and it's true. One of the things that is working in everybody's benefit here, trust in the greed of Hollywood. That sounds weird, but sometimes the greed of Hollywood can be a very powerful force for good. A lot of people think Hollywood has an agenda. People on the right think Hollywood has a left agenda. People on the left think Hollywood has a right agenda. You know who Hollywood has an agenda for? The green agenda. They want the money. And they're not going to hold back progress at all. Trust me, the moment they think a North Star, who is a gay comic book character, the moment they think, and they sniff in those greedy little nostrils of theirs, that they think a North Star movie can make them a little bit of money, boom, you're going to get a North Star movie. So trust in the greed of Hollywood. Greed is good. All right, what do we got next?
Right, Colby Bean writes, hello AMC Movie Talk. My question is about a Marvel Civil War movie. I know that no single studio can do a live action Civil War movie, but what about if all the studios partnered up so that this movie could happen? I feel like a Marvel Civil War movie could make a lot of money. And if they did this, they could do it like the Avengers and have 3 different phases, or just one phase to set it up, and then like 3 or 4 Civil War movies so that they could really tell a great story. They could do it after Avengers 3. What do you guys think? Is there ever any chance of this happening?
This is kind of one of those questions that I need to address every couple of months, because I have addressed this type of issue a lot. And for those of you who've heard me answer it a few times, just bear with me, because we get new viewers all the time and who haven't maybe heard this. Because you'd be surprised, out of the 1,000 emails we get a week, how many of them still ask, when are we going to see Spider-Man and the Avengers? When are we going to see a Civil War movie? So let me address it, because it's a fair question for somebody who hasn't heard us answer it before. So Colby, here's the thing. There are two very, 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 very big problems that come into play with the idea of getting a Civil War movie. Now, for those of you who don't know, Civil War is I'm going to oversimplify this, but is a Marvel comic book crossover series that they had, where basically the government was passing a law saying all superheroes need to reveal their secret identities. And half of the superheroes sided with the government, led by Iron Man, and then half the superheroes sided against the government because they didn't think that should be law, led by Captain America. And they went to war against each other. And it involves all of them. I mean, from the Fantastic Four, X-Men, the Avengers, everybody's involved, okay? So, that's Civil War. Why can't a Civil War movie happen? The same reasons that you can't see Spider-Man in the Avengers. Now, let's play a little game here. I'm going to play Marvel, all right? And Dennis here is going to play Sony. So Dennis, ironically enough, wearing the red shirt, he owns Spider-Man. And now we're thinking about making a movie together, putting their character into one of my movies, all right? What then starts to happen is a breakdown of this movie will never get made because even if they wanted to make it, whenever they get a draft of the script, Dennis is going to come to me and whine and complain like the Asian American he is. He's going to come to me and whine and complain about, hey, wait a minute, in this scene, it looks like Spider-Man isn't as tough as Captain America. Rewrite that scene. Oh, wait a minute, now in this scene, why does Dr. Banner have the better dialogue than Peter Parker? I want that scene changed. And me, being the stubborn, greedy Italian that I am, I'm going to go, wait a minute. Why do you want Spider-Man to rescue Thor here? Thor don't need rescuing from Spider-Man, because they're each trying to protect their properties. Because after this is done, Spider-Man's got to go back. And guess what? Spider-Man, when Sony's making Spider-Man movies, they don't want the events in Marvel movies to dictate what they can and can't do in their movies. Because in the Marvel universe, aliens invaded New York. Well, he doesn't want aliens have invaded New York at some point in our history in his movies. So they don't want to have that crossover. Same goes with Fantastic Four, same goes with X-Men. Wait a minute, why doesn't Wolverine save the girl in this scene instead of Black Widow? We want Wolverine to shine, you know? That, they would never be able to get even the script finished. But let's go on to the other thing. The other big problem becomes finances. Now, there is only so much money to go around. So here I am, Marvel, Dennis Sony, and Schnepp Fox.
Everybody's a mutant. Come on, guys, with me. Spider-Man, you're a mutant. Yeah. Fantastic Four, they're mutants. And they're children, too. Everybody's a mutant.
So here we go. Now, we think that if we make this movie, it's going to make a lot of money. Okay, now let's look at my perspective as the head of Marvel. My movie Avengers, I know it made more than this, but let's for argument's sake say $1 billion. It made more. I think it was 1.3 or something like that. My movie Avengers made $1.3 billion. And guess what? Everybody who's ever gone to see an X-Men movie came and saw my movie. Everybody who ever went to go see a Spider-Man movie came and saw my movie too. Everybody saw Avengers several times over. So having X-Men now in my movie, well, they were all going to come see my movie anyway, so I'm not really making any extra money. Everybody who went to go see Spider-Man came to see Avengers too. So by putting Spider-Man in my movie, I'm not making any extra money, maybe 5% more. But now, okay, so I make, instead of $1 billion, maybe our Civil War movie makes $1.2 billion. Okay, but now instead of me getting all the $1 billion, I've got to split that 1.2 up with 2 other people.
Hey, why you gotta be so greedy? Let's all share the money. We're all mutants. Come on.
We're all mutants. So now instead of me getting $1 billion, I'm getting $400 million. When if I just did the movie myself, I would have gotten like $800 more million. So from a creative point of view, this can never happen because they'd never be able to agree on whose character shines. From a financial point of view, it makes absolutely no sense for Spider-Man to want to be in the Avengers or the Avengers want to be in an X-Men film because they can make more money just doing it on their own instead of doing it together and having to split the profits. It just doesn't work. And so for that reason, I don't believe we are ever going to see a Civil War movie or a Spider-Man in Avengers or anything like that. Unless Sony goes out of business and Marvel can get the character back. Anyway, Dennis, how do you see all this?
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it. I think it's more of a financial thing than a creative thing. I think creatively it is tough, but I think they could get around with it if there was some financial incentive. So it's weird because this question, even though it's not totally related, it relates back to the gay question. Like, it's about money. They don't want to split all that money they can make. So it just doesn't make any financial sense. And the only way, like you said, is if Sony and Fox somehow lose the properties they own and they all go back to Marvel, and then Marvel can do it and it doesn't cost them anything extra.
Schnepp?
I think the workaround for that is, I mean, Marvel owns all of their characters in animated form. So they've been doing these incredible cutscenes in video games that are fully 3D. I would see a Civil War miniseries that was done in that style, like almost realistic. So it's not exactly a movie, but it's like you would get all the flavor of the Civil War series, but do it as like a 6-part, 2-hour mega series or whatever.
Directed by John Schnepp.
I could direct that. But no, I mean, that's the way I would go, because you guys are totally right. That'll never happen. They'll never split up those characters. Marvel would like nothing more than to reabsorb Spider-Man into their universe.
Yeah.
And since that's not going to happen, they're not going to do a team up with Sony. They're not going to do let's do a he's in our movie, you're in our. You know, they're not going to swap characters for a couple of different movies. You're right. I don't see that happening simply because of the monetary aspect. You know, and then if they do that, then they only strengthen Sony's Spider-Man franchise.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm Marvel. Do I want to make Spider-Man even more stronger? So, because I want Sony to go out of business. I want Sony to lose money on Spider-Man so they can give up the rights to Spider-Man. I can get him back. I ain't gonna help him out. No, there's just no way. So it's unfortunate, because I think we'd all love to see it. I mean, we'd all die to see it, but I just don't think it's gonna happen in the next fan films. But in the next 20 or 30 years, I don't think it's gonna happen. All right, folks, that'll do it for us. We've run fresh out of time today. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to remind you once again, this Friday, November 1st at 3:30 p.m. on the main stage at the LA Convention Center for Stan Lee's Kamikaze, AMC Movie Talk is going to be there. We're going to be doing a panel there talking comic book movies with our very special moderator, star of the upcoming film, Thor: The Dark World, Miss Jamie Alexander. Should be a lot of fun. We're all going to be there. So, I want to thank, first of all, those guys who are joining me at the table. Sitting to my immediate right, he is the production manager of AMC Movie News, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
People can find me on Twitter @ThinkHero or on YouTube, ThinkHero Pro.
And sitting next to Dennis, the director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, directed things like Grim Fairy Tales, Metalocalypse, all that type of great stuff. Mr. John Schnepp. John, where can people find you?
You find me at Twitter, John Schnepp, Instagram, John Schnepp, and on Friday, talking to Sif at Stan Lee's Kamikaze. What's happening?
And the newest member of our team, sitting over there in the host position, Miss Whitney Bissell. Whitney, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter @WhitneyBissell, and thanks for having me again today. Made it through.
And you can find me on all the various social media networks, just @John Campia. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Remember, most important part of our show is absolutely not what we have to say, because we're pretty much idiots. It's what you have to say. Make sure you jump on down to the comments section, leave your thoughts on any or all the topics we discussed here today. Agree, disagree, be respectful. It's the most fun part about being a film fan. So until next time, my name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until then, bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news, and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.